So you know when people say, I wish I never had to make this video? I wish I never had to make this video. I am currently on chat with Amazon.de. And this is a video where I share with you the absolute 21st century nightmare I'm going through because I placed a bulk order of books for my own book that I authored. And my customer was received 200 copies of my own book, The Idea Shapers. And um, they discovered there were pages falling out of every one of those 200 copies of those books. Now, we placed the order for the books in April. We discovered the problem with the books the end of July. It is now the end of November. I am currently on chat with the 26th person I have been in contact with through Amazon.de customer service. I am currently connected with number 26, and I've spent dozens of hours trying to resolve this problem. Now, the initial issue, let me back up for a second. And the long story short, this is not going to be, oh, I have number 27. I've just been transferred to a new person. All right, I'm documenting everything, unsurprisingly. And they speak German, which means I'm probably going to get number 28. All right. Customer, great customer, an extremely patient customer wanted to order 200 copies of each of my books. One, the Graphic Facilitator's Guide, to the Idea Shapers. So I thought, easy peasy, I'm going to log into my KDP author dashboard. I am going to order these author copies and have them shipped directly to my client, to my customer in Germany. And I just saw a little spider. I hope it's a lucky spider. I figured, hey, why the heck not just order these through Amazon.de, have them delivered directly to my customer in Germany. The 400 books were printed. The 400 books were received. Yes, number 27 is now transferring me to person number 28. Now, let's see. My customer received the copies of the books. Took a little time before they were moving the books and realized that one title, all 200 copies of the Idea Shapers, were poorly bound and had pages falling out of them. These are not sellable books. Now, so I contact Amazon. First, I contact KDP. KDP says you have to go to Amazon.de. I contact Amazon.de. I think it was July 27th. I could find it here in my record. And all right, still waiting to be connected to number 28. Now, all right, now we've got number 28. It's exciting. This is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 people today. Wow. It may not be very good live streaming if I am typing this much because I have to keep on telling my story over and over again. Now, through all of this, every time I get an email about this problem, there's always a button that says, did we solve your issue? Yes or no. And and then it says, we strive to be the most person-centric company on earth, or something to that effect. And believe me, every time I see one of these messages, it just makes me unhappy. How about that? So okay, let me back up. I have been publishing on what was CreateSpace, now KDP, since 2011. Now, when I published my second book in 2016, fall of 2016, I had ordered 400 copies to fulfill my Kickstarter campaign that I did for my book. And when I received those 400 copies through Amazon.com, again, my print on demand copies of my book. Oh my goodness, they can't find my order number right now. when I found, when they delivered the 400 copies of my Kickstarter campaign, the, let's see if I can find. Oh, sorry, guys. I had, nope, I can't. Okay. Let's see. The 28th person. Sorry. This might be a terrible, terrible live. It probably is already a terrible live. I'm just so beside myself at the ridiculousness of this entire situation. So, I'm now writing, I last spoke to person 20 on November 3rd. And okay, ordered 400 copies of my second book for my Kickstarter in 2016. They arrived, they were poorly printed. They were not poorly bound. It was just lousy quality in the printing on demand. In that case, I was freaked out because I'd like spent all this work writing this book, getting this Kickstarter ready, the 400 copies arrive, and they look like a copy of a copy of a copy. I got on Amazon.com customer service, and very quickly, happily, the person I was talking to said, wow, okay, got it. Can you send me a photo of what it should look like versus what it looks like? And I had an old proof copy plus one of these new copies. I photographed them side by side. I sent it off to him. He said, great, thumbs up, got it. Send us back 10% of these books, and we will immediately put in an order to have these 400 copies of your book reprinted and shipped to you. I'm like, great. Like, don't love that this happened, but felt like, and I think it was truly like 20 minutes, a 20-minute call. This was back, they were fixing the problem. They were shipping me the books that were poorly printed. Okay, great. Now, flash forward to April. My customer orders 200 copies of book number one, 200 copies of book number two. The 200 copies of book number two, pages are falling out of every single one of those books. Now, oh gosh, I could get granular. Don't want to get granular. I am currently on chat for anyone tuning in right now with Amazon.de customer service because I placed an order, order for 400 copies of my books, 200 copies for two different titles, and had them shipped directly to my customer in Germany. Half of them were defective. First, we went through this incredible rigmarole because I was thinking from my previous experience in 2016, now granted, Amazon.com versus Amazon.de, I thought, okay, we'll rectify this. They will send replacement copies of the books, right? That's what happened in 2016. That would solve the problem. My customer would have 200 sellable copies just like they wanted, and it would be resolved. Now, it took weeks and weeks and weeks to try to figure out. I'm realizing this person is now not replying back to me. Read me. Today I'm on my sixth person, and they now say they can't find my order number for this order. So apparently, when things go, oh, good, I'm getting a seventh person today. Amazing. Today I am following up yet again. I am 39 minutes into this session, and I'm trying to get my freaking refund for these defective books. All right, so the latest, gosh, I'm trying to do this in order. I'm doing it live. It's a total mess. I might delete it. I might not delete it. I am just so fed up with this entire situation that I am going live because nothing else is working. Now, let's see. Took weeks and weeks and weeks to establish through easily a dozen people that the problem is they absolutely cannot replace the defective books. I have to ship all 200 copies back to their warehouse and do a return and a refund. Okay. All right. Now I've got person number 29. I am pausing for my live for a second. So I am writing person number 29. Saying I'm being told that my order number is invalid. And I'm going to copy and paste my order number again. I'm saying this is a refund for 200 defective books that were received by the returns warehouse September 12th. I'm going to say I last spoke to agent 2020 on November 3rd, and he had escalated the issue to his supervisor. Okay, you can tell that's a spoiler alert. Now, we went through a huge weeks-long BS about the fact that, and getting many different answers to the same question. It was incredible. So first it was like, hey, these books are defective. I ordered them from Amazon. Why don't you print and send me replacement copies, right? That would resolve the problem and be more person-centric, for the most person-centric company on earth. And we tried to do all these things to get the books picked up. That didn't work once, didn't work twice. Finally, bless my customer. They were patient. They were amazing. They said, and they're a company who does like a lot of logistics, so they know how to get things done. Again, bless them. Eventually what happened is they hired a courier company to move a pallet, a 50-kilogram pallet of 200 books, because I needed to return all 200 defective books to the returns warehouse to receive a refund on my order, so that I could then reorder these books again and go through this all over again. So my end customer could have the books that they've ordered from me, the author. So bless their hearts, they put everything on a pallet, they photographed it, we had the tracking number. The books, the 200 books, were all wrapped together on one single pallet and received by the warehouse on September 12th. I immediately get on Amazon.de because, boy howdy, if you knew all the ins and outs and little details to this ridiculousness, I was like, I'm tracking every single moment. I am copying and pasting every single conversation and chat. I am writing down every single person I talk to and the dates I talk to them. And if you are just tuning in now, it is November 29th, and I am on my first, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh person in this particular chat, because they now can't find my order number. All right, so September 12th, the books arrive. I immediately get on Amazon.de and I say, this was just received. The courier company has the tracking information that has been received by the warehouse, and I'm doing everything I can at every minute to try to make sure the next thing happens. Now, that person was like, well, I can't do anything for you. And what I'm trying to do is establish that the books are in the record has been the barcode I was given, which we put all over the outside of this pallet of 200 books, that it was scanned in and received by the warehouse. And that was a very unhelpful conversation. So I said, okay, a couple days later, I do the same thing. And I'm told we can't find any information about that. We can't find any information about that. It could take up to 21 days for your physical objects to be received and processed by the warehouse. All right. So now we are in September. I run a 3-day virtual event. My big annual event is in October. So at that point, I'm like, all right, I'm going to put this absolute 21st century nightmare on the back burner while I do my virtual event. And let's see, I'm still waiting for a response, and I bet I don't. Yeah, currently, okay. Let me see. The books were received by the warehouse September 12th. I wait some time. Oh, they actually access the order. I don't know how they did it. So now I'm writing, they said, I've accessed the order. Sorry for the wait. I'm writing, 3 previous people could not access the order. How did you do it? Because I am trying to understand every single possible bit of this incredibly inhumane process. So the books get returned they get received by the warehouse September 12th. Weeks later, plenty of time past the 21 days, I follow up again because I still haven't not seen the refund for these 200 books, 200 defective books. And I have not gotten my refund. Now, granted, you order 200 copies of a book, even at my author price, these 200. Oh my gosh. Okay. So uh, I lost my train of thought because I'm trying to do too many things at once. But I'm trying to keep it interesting because the dozens of hours I've spent on trying to resolve this are asinine. All right, so I asked how did they access the order that 3 previous people could not access? Just kept trying. Okay, I see the books. The tracking has expired, but I can see the notes of the supervisor. Let me see what options I have. That's what I was going to say. These 200 copies of this book were over €1,000. And I can absolutely understand that numbers, person 1, 2, 3, 4, however many people I was speaking to, I can absolutely understand that they would not have the clearance to just hit a button to refund me money for my order because it was a very large order. And again, for anyone tuning in now, this was because I ordered 200 copies of my own book, had them shipped direct through Amazon.de, had them shipped directly to my client, my end customer in Germany. And my customer, as they started moving the books to stock them, realized that there were pages falling out of the books. Out of all 200 copies of the books, those 200 copies of the books were shipped back to the warehouse in September. I'm waiting for the refund. Don't get the refund. And at this point, I'm being very diligent. I'm getting on chat. I'm saving absolutely everything I type and was typed back to me. At some point, and all of this, I have no idea why I can't contact the seller. And the seller says Amazon EU SARL, SARL. So if I ordered the books through Amazon, why can't I contact Amazon? And I do some sleuthing, and it sounds like Amazon EU SARL, SARL, is the European company under the umbrella of Amazon, question mark. And there's no way to contact them. There's absolutely no way to contact anyone directly. So through trying to get these things resolved, I just keep asking questions because this still isn't making sense to me. One, why they couldn't just replace the freaking books instead of having to ship back 200, a 50-kilogram pallet of books, that just shipping back, why we couldn't just replace the books like I had done when I had a defective order in 2016 at Amazon.com. And the, pardon me, I am, there we go. seeing if I was still live as I go through this. So let's see. Why they couldn't replace the books. No clear answer there. Clearly, I absolutely had to return all 200 copies of the book to get a refund. Okay, again, bless my end customer in Germany. They were willing to put everything together on a pallet. And the next challenge, I should back up. The next challenge was trying to make sure I had the right documents to put with that return order, because I'm no dummy. Mama didn't raise no fool. I want to do everything I can to make sure that when that giant pallet, that 50-kilogram pallet of 200 defective books arrives at that return warehouse in Germany, that they can scan it in and they know what they're looking at, right? Now, when Amazon shipped the books to my customer, they shipped it in smaller boxes. So it was a multiple box to fill the order, to ship the order, it was multiple boxes. Generally speaking, at least when I order here in the US, I get about 28 copies of this particular book per box. Now, one glitch in this system from the company trying to become the most person-centric company on the planet, on Earth, was they couldn't just create a return label because there were return labels for each of those different boxes. And nobody could get into the system to get those tracking numbers printed. So finally, and I'm like being super persistent, super careful, very detailed, asking, like, this is my concern, that if we don't have the right barcode when this 50-kilogram pallet gets to its destination at the returns warehouse, that it won't re-enter the system. So and again, for anyone tuning in now, I'm working with Amazon.de. I'm working with Amazon.de to try to get a refund on 200 defective books. I'm currently talking to person number 29. This process started late July. And oh my goodness. So out of 29 people, now granted, a lot of these 29 people, I was only chatting with them through the window on Amazon.de. And I'm chatting with people through Amazon.de, so I can be very specific in my words. There's no problem with any static, any communication barrier at all. And so I can save everything that's happening. Also, I found the I first called, and bless these customer service people. They are trained to be exceedingly obsequious, overly polite. And in the way this human being is wired over here, the author of more than 2 books, who's trying to resolve this issue of 200 defective copies, when you are the combination of overly polite and incompetent, this particular human being over here does not do well with that. So now I've been recording copying and pasting every single chat, tracking everything as we go. And like I said, today I started with person number 22. I'm sorry, I started with person number 23, and I am now in the chat with person number 29. Now, out of these 29 people, that's where I was going with this, there was, often you chat with somebody and then you just get an automated follow-up. Often I didn't get any follow-up at all, which seems like a problem with the system. But generally, if I spoke to somebody in the chat, I would get a transcript of the chat via email, and then there would be a button that said, did we resolve your issues? Button saying yes, button saying no. And then below that, something along the lines of, we strive to be the most person-centric company on Earth. And I'm not going to look it up right now to give you the exact wording, but that is the gist. Several of the 29 people, I would say easily at least 6 of those folks said they would personally reply to my email and make sure this was resolved. Out of 29 people, there has been 2. I'm trying to think if there was a third now. No, there's been exactly 2 people who actually followed up with me. Now, the first person who did follow up with me was the person who was at this part of the process, which was trying to get the correct barcodes to put on this 50-kilogram pallet of books, so that when that pallet of 200 defective books arrived at the warehouse, that they would get scanned in and enter the system. So that person could not get like exactly the right thing, but he said, do this, do this, do this. So I did these things. We attached the barcode and the letter explaining all of the issues in detail, the order number, the everything. It was inside the package, it was outside the package. The courier had a copy, all of that, right? Now, the books did arrive at the warehouse on September 12th. And I can tell you every time out of these 29 people I've spoken to, every time, almost every time, you have to absolutely start from zero. And they love giving you the address for the warehouse. They love giving you the information on how to get reimbursed for your shipping costs. And that makes them feel good and feel like they're accomplishing something, but it doesn't do it. It doesn't resolve the issue. So the books are received by the warehouse. That day, I get on chat to try to confirm that it has been scanned in the system, knowing that it's a little quick, knowing that it might take some time. Okay, fine. So then of course, that person's like, I can't help you. There's nothing we can do. There's no record of this. So a couple days later, I try again and they say, we don't have any record of this. And I don't totally do the, do you have a supervisor? Is there anyone who has more access than this? And of course, no, there's no access to this information. So they say it could take up to 21 days for your return to be scanned in and put into the system. Now, I know I'm repeating myself because I'm trying to do three things at once, and I'm just trying to do something with this energy. This. So they say it might take up to 21 days for it to be received by the warehouse. This, as I said earlier, was when I host my annual virtual event called Envision. I thought, okay, back burner, we'll figure this out later. We'll give it some time. I gave it time. I gave it more than enough time. I think it was 43 days after the day that the warehouse had received the 50 kilogram pallet of 200 defective books. I am back at it. And at this point, without going into every transcript of every chat, at this point, what happened was, we can see that in the system, I think it was either 16 or 18 books. So even though 200 defective copies of this book, which never should have been shipped in the first place, but I can understand that if you're printing on demand, everything's automated, put directly into boxes, nobody's touching these books to see if there's pages falling out, right? 16 of the books have entered the system, despite the fact a 50 kilogram pallet of all 200 books arrived at the same time with a tracking number. So the next thing was, who cares about the order? A next thing that happened was that basically I was required to fill out a form, sign an affidavit that I did what I was saying happened, with the tracking number from the courier company, with all the details about the order, all of this. I'm send in this form. Okay, send in that form. Nothing happens. Get back on Amazon.de. Right now I'm waiting for person number 29 to reply. The last thing they wrote was that they can see the notes of the supervisor. Let me see what options I have for this refund of 200 defective books, which was over €1,000. So somehow the warehouse has only gotten 16 copies of this book. And they are, so I have to, continue to be diligent and try to figure out what is going on. And the, let's see, where are we at? There's a couple things I missed along the way. One was, I lost it. I lost it. Oh, person number 29 is replying. Let's see what they have to say. Now I can understand person number 29 They said, I do apologize for the long wait. I am working on it. I can understand person number 29 does not have authorization to give me a refund that's over €1,000. Understand that. Let's pick up this thread. 2 people out of 29 people said they would, well, many people said they would follow up with me. Many of them said that they would personally see this issue through until it was resolved. And this probably isn't getting picked up by my webcam, but my eye is twitching saying this right now. And out of 29 people, 2 actually did follow up. The first person was the person who helped me get the barcode to put with the shipment. Bless that person, we got that far. Now, the second person who actually followed up and said that, so this person was contacted, I contacted them. This was a chat on November 3rd. Now, the funny thing is, on November 3rd, the second person I spoke to in that particular chain of chats was the very first person I documented in this whole process. So technically, I talked to 2 people before I talked to person number 1. Now, 1 was when I actually started documenting everything, saving every chat, noting what dates, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So funnily enough, person number 20 was person number 1. And they're like, oh yeah, I remember this, blah, blah, blah. Now, this person said, I will promise you, I will see this through until this is resolved. So person number 20 says, have a long conversation and I'm asking every possible question I can ask, trying to figure out what on earth is happening. You know, somebody says I'm going to send this to my supervisor. I would say, oh, can you tell me the title of that person? Like, I don't even need a specific name. I'm like, give me the name of the department or the title of the person. So that when I know I need to talk to person number 21, I can say I spoke to this person who took this action and handed off this order number to this title or this department, right? Now, person number 21 was fine, but I remember a few people before trying to get this information and they were like, I can't give you that information. I can't give you that information. I'm like, wait, in your org chart, there isn't any job title for the person who gets the person, the department, the something that gets this information. So when you are looking at my order number and dealing with me on chat and you have to hand it off to somebody, there isn't any kind of name, label, anything. The best I could get was it's escalated to one supervisor. Okay. So person number 20 said, this is what I'm doing. And I'm like, you know, we had this long conversation and this person, and I think around number 18 were a couple people who helped illuminate some of the shadows, the question marks, the why is this even happening in the first place kind of questions I had, which I can get to if I want to get to, we'll see. Again, I'm waiting for person number 29 to look at what is going on. So person number 20 says, I've escalated this, was extremely patient, answering many of my questions because I'm trying to fill in every possible gap I can. And person number 20 said, I will be with you until this is resolved. I will follow up. Okay. And the affidavit has been sent. I follow the process for getting reimbursed for the courier costs because bless my end customer who is, I'm sure they think I'm the Yahoo. I'm sure they're like, what is going on here that this is such a problem? But they, you know, paid out of their pocket to hire a courier to take this 50-kilogram pallet of 200 defective books with pages falling out of them. They hired a courier to take that to the returns warehouse, which just happened to actually not be very far away from where they were, where my end customer was. I follow the process to get reimbursed for those courier costs. Now, let's see. I do all those things. Person number 20 is saying they'll see this through. They have escalated to their supervisor. Now, they did follow up 4 days later. This is just 4 days, not 4 business days exactly. I think that might have been a Friday. So I think I heard back on Monday from person number 20. Person number 20 said, I just want to give you an update. Let's see if I can actually find it because it's not too buried. Our warehouse has started to accept the books you have sent back, and we are currently processing them. Okay, this is November 7th. The warehouse received all 200 books at once on September 12th. And at some point, not going to look this up for this particular YouTube live, at some point, I did get information that 16 or 18 of the 200 copies were in the system. Okay. Now, again, they're all wrapped together on the same pallet. They are not separated out into the boxes like they were shipped to my end customer. So, hooray for person number 20 for actually following up and saying, I'm contacting you. Here is the update. I just wanted to give you an update and that I'm still looking into the case to help you finally resolve it. They said, you do not need to reply to my email, and I will keep giving you new information once the department presents it. I don't know the name of that department. Okay. Now that was November 7th. So 7 days after my actual chat with person number 20, I wrote back and said, we spoke 7 days ago. No signs of refund yet. Please update me as soon as possible. Getting this resolved is urgent. I think that's the first time I said use the word urgent. I am being like ridiculously patient through this whole absolutely mind-boggling situation. Again, the books were ordered in April. The fact that they were defective was discovered in July. Finally, after much conversation about trying to get the books replaced, they could only be refunded. So we shipped the books back on one single 50-kilogram pallet, 200 defective copies. That pallet was received on September 12th. Again, on November 11th, talking to person number 20. Oh, I'm sorry, person number 21. I've been saying the wrong. I'm going to keep saying 20. Wait, person number 29 is writing back. Let's see what happens. When I got on chat today, first they told me they couldn't find the record. And now person number 7 could find the record of my order. And now they've been looking into what's happening. Person number 20. So I'm pausing the part where person number 20 says on November 7th, they sent an update and they will make sure it is resolved. I write back, having not heard from them 4 days later, I write back and say, getting this resolved is urgent. Oh, that's great. Oh, I love it. This is so perfect. So now today, person number 7 said, thank you for your patience. I've escalated the matter. We will get back to you within 1 day. Oh, that's interesting. I'm writing, oh, that's interesting. This order was escalated by person number 20. Technically it was 21. I just saw that, but that's okay. On November 3rd, and I was told to wait 5 business days. So person number 20 writes back, updates me on the 4th. I write on, I'm sorry, updates me on the 7th. 4 days later, I knock, knock. Hey, would love an update. 0 response. 5 days later, knock, knock. Still love a response. And then I get person number 21 saying, oh, they're still working on it. Wait until November 21st. Okay. And, truly the can just keeps on getting kicked down the road. I am still not refunded over €1,000 for 200 defective copies of my book that I ordered author copies of through KDP and had shipped directly to my end customer. So again, this person who said, I will be with you until this matter is resolved has disappeared. The last I spoke to person number 20 was last contact I had with person number 20 was on November 7th. Again, this is the company who is promising to be the most person-centric company on earth. And because it is let me see. Okay, so they said November 21st. Okay. So I tried again on November 22nd, the next day. And I was past the hours of chat. So I filled in some freaking form, which of course I didn't hear anything back from. And now it is, okay, one moment, please. I last wrote in the chat, talking to person number 29. This order was escalated by person number 20 on November 3rd, and I was told to wait 5 business days. Person number 29 just said, I understand and I do apologize for the delay, but I have expressed the urgency on this matter. I'm going to write back, okay. I'm also going to copy and save this because I'm saving every freaking thing I write in this whole incredibly demoralizing, dehumanizing, frustrating situation. Let me get back to person number 29. I'm going to say, can you tell me the name, title, or department name this matter has been escalated to? Again, I'm trying to track every single detail I can. All right. Maybe perhaps someday I will actually do something that's not alive and is more coherent. Person number 29 is now writing back. I have sent this to the primary team. They will be contacting you. I say, okay. I say, if they are the primary team, what is the name of your team? Now, for anyone new here, anyone who might have found this because they're having problems with Amazon.de customer service or problems with ordering author copies through KDP, okay, this person, number 29, is from Amazon Business. All right. I am a facilitator who helps support strategy meetings that big corporations have. Okay, now they're saying I am from Amazon Business and the issue was escalated to the retail team. I'll say, okay, thank you for that information. Okay. Copying and pasting again. I have been dropped by chat calls. I literally been hung up. That was one of the times where I was trying to get this kind of information where all I want to know is the name of a title or a department so that when I have to do this again. Okay, person number 29, I reached out to my supervisor and we worked on the issue and made sure the team has everything provided to assist you. I'm going to say, okay, in my record, do you see the affidavit let's say, in my record, do you see the affidavit I sent with the tracking numbers, I'm sorry, let's do this. Do you see the affidavit I sent with the shipping confirmation? And do you see the receipt for courier costs to be reimbursed? Okay. Again, I'm trying to anticipate any possible problem. Now, I was just saying, I'm a professional facilitator. It is my job to anticipate someone's needs, to anticipate problems. And it happens that the kind of facilitation I work is something called graphic facilitation, where I map out people's conversations. So documenting things is important. Transparency is important. So you can imagine this whole situation, how much fun it is for me. Wouldn't be fun for any single person, and absolutely no customer should ever, 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 ever go through this. But point is about bringing up my specific job out in the world. Book number one, the 200 copies that weren't defective, were about this work, graphic facilitation. Because I do this work and I've worked with tons, okay, great. So person number 29 said, yes, I see all of them, and we have made sure that it is visible to them as well. Now I'm saying, okay, thank you for confirming. Now I'm going to be a little cheeky, and I'm going to say, when I don't hear back in the next day, what is my next step? So I just wrote, when I don't hear back in the next day, which is what person number 29 is promised, I ask, what is my next step? Because we are now, I don't know how many minutes I've been live, but because I time all of this particular exchange, oh, please contact us back so we can check why no contact has been made. Okay. Here's a good question. Oh, so today has been an hour and 16 minutes so far. And this is person number 7 today. I kept on getting pushed off because they couldn't find my order number. I'm going to say one last question. Is there a ticket number or the equivalent for the escalation? Since several people have not, sorry, no, it's exciting to see me type and speak at the same time. Okay, so I've been told I'm going to hear back in the next day what the problem is with this. Now, this can has been kicked down the road for weeks. And because if you're tuning in now, today when I got on chat, several people told me my order number was invalid. The order number for an order of 400 copies of 2 of my books, 200 copies a piece. And I was told the order number was invalid. So I thought, okay, maybe since this has been escalated, or was supposedly escalated on November 3rd, that that perhaps it had a different order number. So now person number 29, who is the 7th person I've been contacted with in chat today, said, I will hear back in the next day. And I asked, what do I do when I don't hear back? And I said, one last question, is there a ticket number or the equivalent for the escalation? Several people could not access my order number earlier today. Reasonable question, I think. I'm doing the best I can to keep the lid on this pot, to go through this absolutely inhumane, incredibly stupid process. All right, let's see what person number 29 says. They are typing back. And they're going to say, no, we don't have that, because that's usually what happens. And they'll probably say, I will make sure, I will stay with you until this is resolved, which has been said many times. And like I said earlier, out of 29 people who I've been in contact with since I started tracking, there were 2 people before that. The 29 people I've been in contact with, many have said they'd follow up. 2 have actually followed up, and both of those 2 people ghosted me later in the process. Now, I will tell you, I think person like 3 or 4, I lost my cool with. It was through chat. I think I typed in all caps. I've been exceedingly careful not to swear, even if it's in chat. So, you know, I have been very much the same demeanor you're seeing here on this call, where I'm being very, very exacting in my words. Oh, yeah, there we go. Person number 29 just said, I'm sorry, I do not have a ticket number. See, I sent you to another department to assist you, so I did not file an escalation directly. I requested another team to help you. That's not very clear. But I can use the chat as a reference. Now I'm saying, okay, I will wait for the retail team to contact me in the next day. I'll say, she said in one day, within one day. There we go. Because I'm using exactly the language that person number 29 used. I said she, I have no idea the gender of this person. 1 day. At least this person didn't promise me that they would see it through, because that doesn't mean anything in this circumstance. Thank you, and have a great rest of your evening. Okay. Now, every time I do this, I copy over the entire freaking chat and I save it. Because what the heck else am I going to do? I just, I'm not a big fiction reader. I like movies, don't tend to read a lot of fiction. I am now closing the chat. So we're going to end this chat. Yes, end this chat. Okay. No, now it says your feedback is helping us. There's the wording. Now in the window I just hit end chat, it says your feedback is helping us build Earth's most customer-centric company. Did I solve your problem? Yellow button, yes. White button, no. Guess what? I'm checking no. It's not resolved after the 29th person. Ooh, I love it. So now I got the star ratings to put in. Usually it's in English. For some reason today it is in German, which I took in high school and I can kind of figure out. And I'm not going to pick on this person because this person is just another person. Oh, stop. Sorry, I had to stop my stopping my timer. Okay, we're not going to put anything in there because it's not going to do any good anyway. And person number 29 seemed pretty together. I have been gobsmacked sorry, YouTube is telling me something. I've been gobsmacked at some of the folks I have been in contact with through this. Okay, so now what I've just done is I've saved the chat, which started out with person. Oh, wait a second. Let's just do this. Save it. Okay, I'm saving and closing the document that has the entire transcript from today. Today I spoke to 7 people. So for anyone tuning in now, I can see a couple people actually joined me. Bless your hearts. This is an absolutely incredibly inhumane, frustrating, asinine, all the words, trying to be polite, use the big words process, wherein I just saved the chat. So now I'm going to track that today so far has been 1 hour, or today, because what I'm doing right now on YouTube isn't counting to this log, was 1 hour and 21 minutes. So that is how long I was on chat with Amazon.de trying to resolve the problem when I, as a KDP author, I've written several books. A customer of mine in Germany ordered 200 copies of each book of 2 titles. So I placed an order for 400 books, 200 of one title, number 1, 200 copies of title number 2, and ship them directly to my end customer in Germany. So I placed this order through Amazon.de. And my clients, my end customer, received their books. And once they actually were moving the physical books, pulling the books out of the many boxes they arrived in and shelving them in their warehouse, they discovered that title number 2, all 200 copies of those books, had pages falling out. Clearly, they can't sell defective books. And clearly, I don't want my end customer to ever have even gotten defective books in the first place, right? Okay, so books with pages falling out should never have been shipped but I can recognize that this is print on demand. And in this process, who knows when any human hands are touching these books. I get that. Like, I get it. And let me back up for a minute. For anyone who heard this at the top of this freaking live, I published my first book on CreateSpace in 2011, and my second book that was late 2011. My second book was published. That was a collaboration with a colleague. The first book that was entirely my own in my own CreateSpace account, I published in February of 2012, and for the most part, all of this works flawlessly. And I recognize that as one individual who is running her own business, trying to get her work out into the world and teach people, that if I had to pay the cost to print copies and keep an inventory and ship my books, it wouldn't happen. It wouldn't happen. So I can appreciate that back then CreateSpace was the way I could get my books out into the world. And now I can appreciate that KDP is the way I get my books out into the world as an author. Now, that book, the book, my own solo book, we'll just call it book number one. Book number one, I published in February 2012. And in book number two, the ones that happen to be defective in this particular horrendous circumstance, book number two is was published in late 2016. And I will tell you, for those 4 years I only had that single title, I got royalties, people ordered the books got shipped directly to them. Everything was beautiful, perfect, fantastic. Okay. The first issue and only 2 issues out of the 12 over 12, 12 almost brain just short-circuited. It will be book number 2. It will be almost 12 years of publishing these titles now through KDP. I've only had 2 issues. Both of those issues were with bulk orders of books. For anyone who happens to still be watching or tuning in later, the first issue I ever had was I finished my second title. I had run a Kickstarter campaign for that second title. I ordered 400 bulk copies of the second book to fulfill the Kickstarter. And you could imagine the first book was easy peasy, no problem. The second book was an entirely different experience, harder book to write, longer book, more intensive, all these things. And I will give you side advice. Do not do a book Kickstarter campaign until you are proofing the final book. So I added a whole lot of extra stress to my plate by doing a Kickstarter campaign when the book was going to change and get longer and take longer and all this stuff. So again, first 4 years of CreateSpace, then KDP, I'm not exactly sure what year this changed over. I flawless, no problem, got royalty checks, paid bills, actually paid mortgage payments. I know that people like to say that there's no money in publishing. They like to say that a book is basically just a oversized business card that gives you credibility. These 2 books are really useful books for a very specific thing. And people buy them. People buy them from all over the world. And I actually pay bills with the money I make selling these 2 books. So first time I ever had an issue was ordering the 400 copies for the Idea Shaper Kickstarter. And the 400 copies arrived. Anyone who's still watching from the beginning, you've heard this already. 400 copies arrived, and basically the insides of those 400 copies looked like a copy of a copy of a copy. The print quality was poor. I understand this is print on demand, that a run is going to look slightly different than another run. Totally understand that. I studied printmaking in school. Like, I know I can be very particular about these things. I understand the process. But this print quality was both the print quality looked like a copy of a copy of a copy. So it was grainy, it was lighter, it just looked terrible. And the trim was off. So like the margins looked all skewed because they basically didn't quite cut the books in the right place. So I call up Amazon.com because this was an Amazon.com order in 2016. And understandably, like, I'm not feeling great about this, but let's get it resolved, right? So the person I talked to that day, we had a little bit of banter about, I think, the Chicago Cubs because he saw that I was in Chicago. I know no sports, but it was a lovely little exchange. And within 20 minutes, he said, okay, first thing I want you to do is, can you photograph a good copy next to a bad copy so we can see the problem? Sure, no problem. I had a proof copy, and that was printed beautifully. And I put that next to the one of the books from the 400 order. We're talking about problem number one. Most of today has been about problem number two. Problem number one, photograph the poorly printed book next to the well printed book, snap the photo, email it to him, and he says, great, I got the image, got it. Okay, I completely would understand someone saying, can we verify what the problem is? Fantastic. We verified what the problem was. He said, okay, next I'm going to send you a return label to ship back 10% of the book. So this 2016 problem, I shipped back 40 books with this return label. And on this call, within these 20 minutes, this gentleman said, okay, it looks like what happened was your bulk books were printed not by one of our core fulfillment centers, but by a company that we outsource orders to. I can't control that. I understand that kind of thing is going to happen. Okay. So he said, but I'm making sure that I'm immediately putting in a replacement order for these 400 copies to be printed immediately and shipped to you. I'm making sure that they're being fulfilled by one of our core fulfillment centers. Okay, great. Fantastic. Okay. So there's a hiccup. This is not great. I now have 360 copies that I can't sell of the book. But I feel confident it's been resolved. And yes, those new copies arrived. They look great. They got shipped out in Kickstarter shipments. Fantastic. Okay. So again, first started publishing, let's just say my books, let's set aside my beautiful collaboration, book number one, co-created in late 2011. Let's just say my books, 2012. The first problem I ever encountered with being an author using CreateSpace at the time to publish my books was a botched bulk order. Okay. Now, so this second title is out in the world. I have had colleagues, I would have to say, I think I've placed maybe only 3 or 4 bulk orders since my own Kickstarter order, where a colleague said, I want X number of copies of this title. Can I place a bulk order? Sure, no problem. Fantastic. What does it mean for me? I get to invoice them for a wholesale price for the book. I then go into KDP as the author, go to my dashboard, and I order author copies of my own title and have them shipped directly to that person who makes the bulk order. Now, of course, having had this experience with my Kickstarter campaign, I tell folks, hey, you know what? There's always a chance that a bulk order won't be printed. There's always a chance that a bulk order might not look great or have an issue. So please, when you get the copies, just give them a once over before you do anything else with them. Not make it like that kind of situation where you're like, 9 times out, hopefully more than 9 times out of 10, 99 times out of 100, they're going to have zero issue, right? They're just going to get the books, be happy with their books. Fantastic. But I mention it, and I try to mention it in a way that just gives someone a heads up and asks them to take that little extra step, because it's happened before. It could happen again. Let's hope it doesn't happen, right? Now, like I said, maybe I'm pretty good memory for this kind of thing, but I think I've had 3 or 4 bulk orders. I'm not really seeking it out. If it comes to me, fantastic. Again, it's fantastic because I invoice that person the wholesale cost of the books. I go into KDP, I order author copies, which are far less than the wholesale cost, and ship them directly to the customer. It should be that they receive those books. They are happy. I am happy. I have made a profit. All is well with the world. So in March or April this year, Happily, a customer, an exceedingly patient and understanding customer, said, we would like to stock your 2 books and we would like 200 copies of each. Fantastic. Wonderful. Yay. The kind of day that as a business person, you're like, yes, thank you. You know, if you some projects, some type parts of your work, if you figure out what you're making per hour, it's just, it will make you cry. And then other days something happens and you go, wow, that was fantastic. Now, this wow, that was fantastic was this customer in Germany said, we'd like to order 200 copies of title number 1, 200 copies of title number 2. Fantastic. So I do what I have done before and go into my KDP account, Kindle Digital Publishing. I go to order author copies. Now, you get to choose which marketplace your books are, which Amazon marketplace you're ordering your book through. Of course, they're in Germany. I chose Amazon.de. I place an order for 200 copies of title number 1, 200 copies for title number 2, and place the order. Fantastic. I just made an amazing profit. And that's all I had to do. Life is good. My end customer receives the books, and we have a form I need to fill out with German, like a form to fill out having to do with country of origin. So we're going through that. Okay, great. It's the kind of form that Americans are like, what on earth is this? What do we do with this? But the order was shipped in April. July, I think it was July, was when my end customer, partly due to the form issue, that we don't even need to discuss the ins and outs of that. July, my end customer is pulling out the books out of the boxes, the many boxes they were shipped in by Amazon, and they are shelving the books in preparation to sell them. They're noticing pages are falling out of these books. And they messaged me photos of pages falling out of the books. I'm like, oh. I've known this could happen because something similar happened late 2016. Problem number 1, Amazon.com got resolved within 20 minutes, shipped replacement copies. So in that case, it was poorly printed and trimmed, cut. In this case, it was 200, all 200 copies of title number 2 were poorly bound. They were defective. Of course, my end customer is running a business, and they're running a business of quality, and they can't sell books with pages falling out of them. So they send me this photo, my stomach sinks. Of course, we have to resolve this. And so first I just say, hey, can you just check to make sure it's all copies so I can give customer support accurate information. So they checked, they confirmed all 200 copies were poorly bound, pages falling out. Okay. So this was July 27th that I first reach out, that I think I first used the telephone. And when I first used the telephone, this is, I'm repeating this because there's a good chance I'm going to save this and maybe just cut off all the live stuff and start with the second half of this video. Who knows? Apparently long videos do really well on Amazon, or I'm sorry, on YouTube. And part of the reason I'm recording this freaking thing is because nothing else is working. And part of the reason I'm recording this freaking thing is when I had these problems, I could not find any information on any forums about anything. So I know I'm not the only person who's had a problem with poorly printed, poorly trimmed, or poorly bound bulk order books. So part of this is, if you found this video because you've had this problem, you're not alone. I'm sorry you're in the same situation. Hopefully you're not in this situation, because it just gets worse and worse and worse. So putting something out there. And if somebody is looking up, issues that could happen with author copies KDP, again, this could happen. Again, big picture. I'm going to back up big picture for a second. Where was I? We're going to get back to July 27th. Big picture, February this year, last year, last year, basically 10 years after I published title number one, I went through my author dashboard and I saw the total I have earned selling my two titles through KDP. And this doesn't even account for those couple bulk orders. It doesn't account for the books I have. I do have a very small inventory at home. If somebody wants to order directly through me, I can ship my books to them. So just people who ordered through Amazon, through any of the marketplaces that carry my two titles as a KDP author, the total income in royalties I have made from two titles over 10 years was $150,000. Real money, real paying the bills money. That is nothing to sneeze at. So that's not a flex. That is when you write two good books that are useful to people and you've been around doing the same thing for a very long time, the book you make, if you make this kind of book, the book you make isn't a vanity project. It isn't an oversized business card. It isn't I'm trying to get credibility by writing a book, and that's all that matters. These are the kind of stories that experts, authors, business people tell themselves. They're like, oh, you know what? I really want to write a book. And unfortunately, a lot of those authors, they want to write a book because they want the credibility and they want the thing to sell. And that's it. So they make a book and now they have a thing to sell. But my guess is 10 years later, that didn't earn them $150,000. So out of 10 years, two titles, that was 10 years was February 2022. So it's been more since then. But just to give you a sense of scope and scale, just to put this in a larger perspective, for years, so now we're a few months away from 13 years of publishing on CreateSpace and now KDP. I've only had two problems. Problem number one was my Kickstarter. Problem number two is what's happening right now and is why I'm doing this stinking live, because what the heck else am I going to do? But out of those 13 years, I have paid real bills and sold my book. And once somebody buys the book, whether they read it or not, is there. Like, of course, I'm hoping they bought the book and they read the book, but anyone who buys books knows that there's a difference between what happens with the transaction of buying book and what happens with hopefully the transformation that happens when somebody actually reads the book, right? That's what we're hoping for. And these are copies of my books, my two titles, that have been ordered and hopefully read all over the world. That's amazing. That's incredible. So I do not wake up in the morning cursing the behemoth of Amazon.com. Now I will tell you why I curse the behemoth of Amazon.de with problem number two. But in the grand scheme of things, the bigger picture, this platform has allowed me to get my work out into the world, to sell hundreds of copies of a very, very, very specific book on two very specific topics that are what helps this human, who is very, very expert in what she does, teach people and to teach people around the world. That is phenomenal. Phenomenal. So do not, what is it? Do not get it twisted. Big picture, I can appreciate all of that. And my eye is twitching. My eyes twitched so many times during this live. Now, July 27th, I reach out to Amazon.de. First I call. There we go. First I call, and as I said, which might get cut out if I re-upload the second half of this video, I'm the type of human being that the combination of being overly polite or obsequious, using one of those big words, when somebody is being obsequious and incompetent, this human being finds it very hard to be patient. So the first two people I talked to, I actually talked to through the support number. I was quickly pausing because basically I was trying to resolve the problem through KDP. They said, no, you have to talk to Amazon.de. So there was a step there. So the first two people I talked to, they're super duper polite and they are useless. And I realized this nervous system cannot do this. So that's when I started using the chat function on Amazon.de's customer service to try to resolve this problem of my end customer receiving 200 defective copies of my second book. And part of the thing with chat is I can be very particular in my words. I can save every chat. I can document this process. Great. Okay. So at this point on July 27th, I start a notepad file, which is in front of me at the moment. I'm not going to go through every stinking thing because holy heck, I kind of want to, just hoping like more people will watch, like somehow this will become like that montage in the movie where people start hearing about this YouTube live and start commenting and linking and tagging people and let's get justice for Brandy Egger back in her Amazon.de order. So July 27th was when I first started documenting the date, who I talked to, and what number person they were. And let's see, I'm trying to decide what level of detail I do tell this, the overview here. So going off of problem number 1, the defective 400 copies when I was fulfilling my Kickstarter, I'm hoping that I can reach out to Amazon.de and say, hey, these were defective. And maybe it'll be like the problem number 1, where they said, send us proof of the problem, send us back 10% of the books, we'll get these reprinted and sent out to you. You would hope. That would be great. And I fully understand that Amazon.com and Amazon.de could be entirely different structures, entirely different people, not connected in the slightest, but I hope. So that is my wish. My intention is to get this resolved in that way. Wouldn't that be great? So, so I get on chat, I start explaining the situation. Now, one thing that's happening that is weird is something happens with my order. I have the order number, but very early on in this process, when I go into Amazon.de and look up my orders, one, I can't contact the seller. And I'm assuming that's because it's past 30 days, because it took a period of time for my end customer to discover the problem with the books. Okay. But I also can't get the detailed invoice. So every time I click on view invoice or see details, there's a couple links you can get to that should be able to get to that information. I would get error messages. I'm like, this doesn't make any sense, but that's what I've got. So another thing I'm going to have to do along the road is get a detailed copy of this invoice for my tax records. Now, July 27th, I talked to person number 1 and explained the situation. And even though it's not, I can't say it's clear, and I can't tell you exactly how many people it took to get here, but at some point, I'm trying to get a replacement, not a refund. I don't want the money back. I just want the right, like, quality copies to get to my end customer. That would resolve this for me, right? However many people in, it becomes apparent that the only way to resolve this problem is by shipping all 200 copies of the book, the defective books, back or to a returns warehouse. And then once they receive the 200 defective copies, I will get refunded on my card, which happens to be an Amazon card. Ha, 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 ha. So there's some rigmarole, there's some ins and outs, there's some ridiculousness to finally get to the point where no matter how many different directions I try to ask this question, there is absolutely no way I'm going to get replacement copies. I have absolutely no way to contact the seller to resolve this. And there is, yeah. And by the way, the seller was Amazon EU Sarl, S-A-R-L. Okay. Some point in the process, I looked them up and they appear to be the European arm of Amazon, which has zero way to get in contact with them. So my order says that the order is, I'm forgetting the word again. I'm not going to look it up during this video. The wording is sold by, I think it's sold by Amazon EU SARL, dispatched by or fulfilled by Amazon.com. Okay. Either way, I got to think it's an Amazon.com fulfillment center or somebody they outsourced to that printed the books and poorly bound the books and shipped the books and sent them to my customer. But through however many people, it is clear there's absolutely no way I'm going to get in contact with Amazon EU SARL or Amazon.com and just get them reprinted. Again, 2016 Kickstarter campaign fulfillment. Those 400 copies, Amazon.com was resolved in 20 minutes. Didn't like having the problem, but it was resolved pretty quickly. Politely, great. So it is established that the absolute only way this will be resolved is if all 200 defective copies are shipped to a returns warehouse. I get the address to the returns, and I am trying so hard. I'm asking so many different ways because I don't want my end customer, who is remarkably patient and fantastic, and who knows how much they're cursing me in this situation over there. I wouldn't blame them. This whole thing is so insanely ridiculous. Insane. I don't want my end customer to have to pack up these books and ship them. Okay? What? But with problem number 2, these 200 defective books, which are poorly bound, pages falling out, the only way to resolve it is by shipping all 200 books back. Now, the next step in the process, which person number 1, once I started tracking all this, person number 1 was trying to get me a return label or return labels to go on these boxes to go back to the warehouse. So they send me a return label for DHL to pick up the books from my end customer in Germany. DHL arrives and they see multiple boxes of books, and they have a return label for 1 box of books. So they refuse to pick up the order. Can't blame them. They're working with the information they have. I explain the situation. Somehow I want a different answer. I'm not going to get a different answer. We go through the trying to do DHL. Now, at this point, my end customer, bless their hearts, they had put all 200 defective books on one single 50-kilogram pallet. So they're already doing far more work than they should do for a problem that never should have happened in the first place. So then we arrange a DHL pickup for the 50-kilogram pallet. And through this process, I'm trying to say, like, look, nobody wants to pay the cost to ship back a 50-kilogram pallet. Like, is there not another way to solve this? Like, this is just wasted money, wasted time, wasted effort, all of these things. But no. The only way to resolve this is by returning 100% of the books and getting a refund. So the second DHL pickup, they refuse to pick up because it's too heavy, because it's a 50-kilogram pallet of books. So next, it becomes clear that, again, the only way this is going to get resolved is if 200 defective books are all returned back to the return warehouse in Germany, which happened to not be that far from my end customer. My end customer, bless them, they find a courier, they hire a courier, and we prepare the next part of the process, which was my trying to get a barcode. I'm trying to get the right documentation to include in this pallet so that when these 200 defective books arrive at the returns warehouse, they can be scanned correctly into the system. Because that would make sense. That would make this the most customer-centric company on earth. So I don't know how many days this goes on where I'm trying to explain, one, I need a copy of my invoice. That's a whole nother wiener dog rodeo. But two, I'm trying to get the right barcode and documentation to include with the physical book so that something doesn't go wrong, because it's all I can do. And all through this process, I did lose my cool with like person 3 or 4, all caps in the chat. But all through this process, this is the demeanor you're getting. Now, inside, I'm getting physically ill because all of this is so insane. And I run my own business, and business is not great. And there are 1,000 more productive things I could be doing than trying to resolve this. And at this point, if I had the money to refund my end customer and just walk away, I would. And I don't think I should eat over 1,000 euros in the printing costs for the actual my order. So basically, to order 400 copies of my books was just over 2,000 euro, roughly 1,000 euro per title, roughly speaking. And I can absolutely understand through this process, person 1, 2, 3, 4, whatever, they are not authorized to hit a button to return a refund of over 1,000 euro. Totally understand. Totally understand that. So I'm being patient and I'm being very, very fastidious. I'm being very careful, exacting in my wording. I am asking every possible question I can ask at every point in the process and documenting it. And I'm at this point still, one, I'm just baffled that we can't just get replacement copies shipped, because this, if you're trying to be customer centric and if you're trying to resolve a problem that your customer has never had in the first place, replacement copies would be the way to go. But since that is not an option, we have to go the route of returning all 200 books to get refunded. So, side note, the invoice. Now, for whatever reason, I cannot access this invoice. And even if I can't contact the seller because it's been past 30 days, that I understand. But the fact that I can't get a copy of my invoice in my account makes no sense. I just keep on getting error messages. Oh, we're sorry. You should try again later. We cannot retrieve that information at this time, something along those lines. And yes, I am screenshotting error messages. That's how fastidious and careful and exacting and detailed I am being in this process. So, side note, invoice. I am told different answers by different people how I'm asking for a copy of the invoice. And several times I'm told, oh, sure, no problem. I just put in a request to have, and you will get that, and you will get an emailed copy of your invoice in the next however many days, right? I was told different things at different times, but sure, no problem. Every single time, nothing arrives. Nothing arrives. At one point, I am adamantly told there's absolutely no way I can get emailed my invoice, despite the fact several people have told me. Now, granted, I was never emailed my invoice, but I was told that was possible. I am very adamantly told there is absolutely no way I can get a copy of that invoice emailed to me. The only way to get it is have it a print copy of my invoice shipped to me. Yes, shipped to me from Germany to the United States. All right. So somebody tells me that's going to happen, but you can guess my confidence level at this point in this process. When somebody says something's going to happen from the most, the company that strives to be the most person-centric company on the planet, on Earth. So I will wrap up this point about the invoice. I do eventually, weeks later, my husband comes up, enters our condo, and he has this weird look on his face, and he's handing me a large packet, like a A4 sized envelope, a packet. He hands it to me, and it says Amazon.de. Okay, why am I getting this packet? Like, I'm thinking I should get the rejection letter from college. That's one sheet of paper folded in an envelope. I'm getting an object that is like the acceptance package from college. That's, this thick, full of papers. And I'm like, why am I getting, okay, I open it up. I didn't count the pages. I still have it, of course, because it's the only record of my invoice I have. Um, the, my gosh, um, I opened this package, however many pages it is line by line invoice of, was it 200 of the second title? Or was it, no, I don't think it was all 400 copies, but it literally was line by line, book by book. So now I'm thinking if I want to be like doing what I should do as a business person, I need an electronic record of this invoice for my taxes. The best I can do with this is probably take it to a place where I can batch scan this sucker. I could probably do it on my machine right here, but the only way I can have an electronic copy that I have to keep for 7 years is to scan in a physical copy of this invoice, which is literally book by book by book. So you can imagine like how absolutely crazy making the situation is. Okay. So at this point, we're back to the point where I'm trying to get the right documentation to go be included in this giant pallet of 200 defective books, 50 kilograms, that my, bless my heart, end customer has hired a courier company to pick up and take to the Amazon return warehouse. And I'm not getting a satisfactory answer because the system can't make a return label for 200 copies of the book. There is absolutely no way to do this. So I recognize that we're doing the best we can with the information we have. And okay, today I talked to persons 22 through 29. Out of 29 people I've contacted in this process, many people have said they promised me they will follow up with me. They promised me they would follow up. A smaller subset promised that they would see this through till resolution with me. Two of the 29 have actually done that. And after like the next step, they disappeared. So I say this because the first person who actually responded was the person who was trying to get me this information to put with the physical shipment. And I'm not going to look up the particular number. I'm just going to say M. Their name started with the letter M. So M finally says, okay, here's the best we can do. Here's exactly the information you should send with this shipment. And so I take the time to prep this and go beyond what they say. Oh, wait. Many people, multiple people told me, just ship the books back. No information. Don't worry about it. Just ship the books back. Like, really? You can imagine how confident I was that had I just had my end customer just couriered over 200 copies of a book, I'm sure that would go really well with an order number and nothing to scan. I don't even think they said an order number. Like, it was incredible the answers I was getting when I'm trying to be thorough and careful to do the only thing I can do in this situation to resolve the problem, which was ship back all 200 defective books. Again, books that never should have been put into boxes to be shipped to my customer. But again, automation, blah, blah, blah. I doubt hands touched these books or did quality control to see if they were bound poorly and had pages falling out. Okay. So M says, here's the information you need. And at this point, like, there's nothing else I can do, my end customer can do. So I compile all the information as completely as possible. And oh, by the way, my customer has taken photos of what the pallet looks like with the order number written large on the outside, with the documentation inside, with the courier given a copy of the document, right? So we're trying to cover every conceivable base we can because I've seen how ridiculous this process is and there's no end in sight. So, bless my end customer who hired this courier. We track it. The 200 defective copies of the book arrive on one single 50-kilogram pallet on September 12th. Now, because I am being thorough and careful and fastidious and all these good words, I hop on chat and I say, I am reaching out in regards to this order number. The physical return has reached this address. I am checking to see if it has been entered in the system. Now, I understand it probably wasn't like instantly scanned. I can understand that it's not like the Amazon delivery guy, delivery person, delivery lady, delivery human, that they are going to literally scan in all these things because it's being tracked to get to the customer. I get that. I totally understand that. That particular day, I'm being fastidious, I'm being careful. I'm trying to make sure that I know this pallet has arrived to its destination. I am trying to track and make sure it is where it needs to go, that it gets into the system. And that particular day, I got somebody who was just rude and like, well, I don't have that information. Okay, great. All right. I think the next day or 2 days after, I go through this again, going, okay, it's been a couple days. Or no, that person, somebody told me like it might take like 3 days or something. Again, it's all tracked. I'm not going to look up the details. You don't need that. You're getting the gist, more than the gist, more than you could possibly want. So a couple days later, get on chat again. And well, it's not in the system yet, but it could take up to 21 days. Technically, they said it could take up to 21 days for me to get my refund. Okay. So it's a mystery what the timing could be for a human to scan the barcode slathered all over the outside of this 50-kilogram pallet of 200 defective books, right? Don't know. But it has arrived September 12th. So I am a human being with a business who has things to do. And it happened that this was about the time I was preparing for my annual virtual event. So I'm like, all right, we'll give it time. We'll give it time. And of course, every so often, I'm checking my credit card account to look for the refund of over €1,000 for these 200 freaking books. I have my event. I'm recovered from my event. I'm like, all right. Now, at this point, I get physically ill when I have to deal with this because it's just like I said at the beginning, I think I got distracted. I said this at the very beginning of this live, which is probably going to be cut in half. I'm not a fiction reader, but I know there are epic stories. Like I think about like man versus man, man versus nature, man versus machine. Weren't those like the big? I feel like those were like big types of stories we were taught. And I keep on picturing Mrs. Andrews, my sixth grade English teacher, and I'm thinking about like man versus machine, or I'm thinking about the kind of stories where the lead character is driven crazy. Like, wasn't there the yellow wallpaper? I keep on thinking about Bartleby the Scrivener, and I'm not even sure that's even one of these stories. Now I'm just riffing on poor memories of books I haven't read. But I know there are these stories of people driven mad by a system. And I'm in one. And I'm trying to like keep my cool, figure this out. So at one point I follow up again. I don't know. I don't know if the books are in the system yet. I do know they've been delivered. They were delivered on September 12th. 43 days after that, I think I'm sure I followed up a couple other times, but this particular, what sticks in my head was a particular time I was tracking it and I'm reaching out to chat and I say, this is my order number. This is the situation. The books the books arrived at this address on September 12th. It is 43 days later and I have not yet seen a return, a refund, pardon me. I have not gotten the refund. And I get someone who's like, oh, well, shouldn't take any more than 21 days. I'm like, well, at least that's consistent. Throughout this process, I keep getting like completely inconsistent answers. Like it is incredible, incredible. So this person's like, oh, well, let me look into it. And this was one of the people who said, I will absolutely follow up with you. And they didn't. And I'm getting emails. Like it's not like I am diligent. I like emails are getting through. So I don't know what happens. Somebody just hits a delete button after the chat ends, right? That's my best guess because none of this makes any sense whatsoever. Um, we'll get back to you because certainly this shouldn't have taken this long. Then I'm basically the same conversation next time. And somebody along the way tells me that either 16 or 18 copies of the book are in the system. My best guess is that barcode that M gave me was for 16 or 18 books. Now, if you are a human being scanning in a barcode, if it's a human being scanning in a barcode, I shouldn't assume, you would have seen a pallet with far more, we're going to use the number 18, with far more than 18 copies of a book on it. But scan it in, it says 18. So I can understand at this point if they've scanned in 18, the system has not received the full refund of 200 copies, right? Okay. But 200 copies were shipped back. And here's the tracking number. And at some point, there is something being accumulated in the record of this order number. But I will tell you, easily the first 10 people, it is truly Sisyphus. The rock rolls down the hill. I start at ground level and have to work my way up explaining the story, right? At some point, some record is there and they are referring to something. So I don't have to start from zero. But so there's one, maybe someday if I'm just feeling extra cheeky, I don't know why I would spend my time and energy on why I'm even doing this right now. Time and energy. There is one particular exchange I had that was about an hour. No, it was 2 hours with somebody where I had to start from the very beginning. And many times through this process, this person on Amazon.de customer service would tell me, don't worry, you can trust me. Don't worry. Why are you so worried? I mean, truly, the language that this person was typing into the chat window and hitting send on to me was like, I mean, whatever. I don't think gender even has to do with this, but like truly being treated by like somebody patronizing somebody else for being hysterical. Like I'm being gaslit by freaking Amazon.de chat. Why are you worrying? This will be resolved. What could the problem possibly be? And in that particular 2 hour chat, like I'm explaining like not in this way, but basically we're going back and forth, question answer. And and they were just like, well, why didn't this happen? Good question. Well, why didn't this happen? Good question. And yet they're still also telling me like, don't worry, you can trust me. You can trust us. We're trustworthy. And I'm just like, you have zero idea, zero idea what it's like in this chair right here. And yeah, so 18 books are in the system, no refund yet. Um, person, I'm just going to keep using 20 because it doesn't matter for the purposes of this video. The funny thing was one day I was working on this and this particular day, so now let's zoom. Now we're at November 3rd. And I have talking to person, well, whatever. I say this person emailed me back. No. I'm sorry. Out of this whole process, 29 people so far, 2 people actually responded. So I was responding to somebody not respond. I was messaging about somebody not responding on November 3rd. They transfer me to somebody else who logs in and then drops me. And then I get, funnily enough, person number 20 is person number 1, the very first person I spoke to in this process. And they actually had a recollection of this exchange. And at this point, November 3rd, it was 52 days after the warehouse received the shipment. And they said they're escalating the matter with their supervisor because so that they can contact the department that can go over the limit. Okay, understandable. It's a refund of over €1,000 for, I can understand that person number 20 can't do that. So it is getting escalated to a department. Okay. Now, this particular person, fine, no problem. They were very polite, extremely patient. I asked every possible question I could ask because there were still things that didn't make sense in this process. And I lost it. Well, I'm doing the best I can in a situation I should never have been in. The escalating the matter. Previous chat where when somebody says I'm escalating this, of course, my next question is, what is the title or position or department you're escalating it to? Because I know I'm going to, the rock is going to roll back downhill, and I'm going to try to use the right words to save the most time the next time I have to reach out. Now, person number 20 was the second person who did actually follow up. And 4 days later, person number 20 said, I'm seeing that they're still entering the return into the system. On November 7th, our warehouse has started to accept the books you have sent back, and we are currently processing them. I just wanted to update you that I'm still looking into the case to help you finally resolve it. Now, so person number 20 was one of the people who said, I will see this through until it's resolved. And so far, so good. They've actually replied. Person number 20, like, bless their hearts. I want to trust them. I want to, but I've been through this before, right? So no need to reply to that email. I'll keep giving you new information once the department presents it. Again, I don't know the name of this department, so I'm waiting. Thank you for your patience and understanding. Best regards, person number 20. All right. Now, one thing that was revealed, and it was person number 18. I got another patient person who actually seemed to know some information. And of course, once I recognize I have somebody who actually understands something about the system, I'm gonna try to get every answer possible, every answer I have answered if possible. There we go. Now, this person explained that part of the issue, which somebody could have told me this like a dozen people ago, an issue with this entire transaction was that Amazon EU SARL is a third-party seller because Amazon, so when I placed this order, it was sold by Amazon EU SARL, SARL, and it was fulfilled by, dispatched by Amazon.com. Sounds like the same company to me. Or perhaps Amazon EU SARL is a subset of Amazon Global. Again, trying to be the most customer-centric company on the earth. Amazon EU SARL is a third-party seller. So because it's a third-party seller, this is why I can't just get replacement books. So now at least I have some information that quite possibly if I survive this and I order these 200 copies for my end customer, which is my intention because they bought the books, and I am not in a position to refund them the money. Like, stuff's hard, people. Like, for realsies. And when you are just trying to get by, you do not want to be spending dozens of hours talking to, as of today, 29 people to try to get a €1,000 refund on an order so you can order them again. But the information I now have, given person number 18 or so, is that to order bulk, now I know if I'm going to do a bulk order with somebody again, the only way I am going to place that order is if the order says sold by Amazon.com, fulfilled by Amazon.com. That's it. Now, some point in this conversation, it might have been person 18-ish or person 20. They said, oh, this third-party seller looks to be mimicking the name Amazon, which is against the rules. Now, if I was able to contact this seller, if it hadn't been weeks and weeks and months that elapsed, I would report the seller. I'd be more than happy to report the seller who was using the name Amazon EU SARL, SARL. Yes, please. Now, this was person 20 because person 20 said, I have reported this person. And they had slightly adjusted the name, but it was still mimicking Amazon. So whoever you are, I would love to make a very rude gesture right now, and I'm not gonna because I'm trying to keep it together. Trying to be the adult solopreneur, single business person who is trying to get her work out into the world and not lose her mind. So the reason I could not get replacement copy, the reason we had fewer options to resolve this issue was because I had placed the order through a third-party seller. Now let's back up. I am an author who's logged into KDP, Kindle Digital Publishing, ordering author copies. Why wouldn't my author copies be being fulfilled by Amazon.com? For whatever reason, the listing I ordered my author copies from was a third-party seller. Now, okay, now I have some information. I don't like the situation, but at least there's something that makes some kind of sense about why, this is happening. So at this point, person number 20 has said, I've escalated this to my supervisor. I will follow this through until it is resolved. Now, again, I've heard this before, and it has not happened. And I want to believe so hard, so hard. And you will hear back within 5 business days. Okay. So basically the next business day, because November 3rd, if I recall correctly, yes, November 3rd was a Friday. Now, person number 20, bless their hearts, they did actually respond. Only the second person out of 20 people I have spoken to who actually followed up. Now, let me be clear. Out of 20 people, not everyone said they were going to follow up, but out of the at least half of those folks, I will follow up with you. Now, let's just even say 6. Let's say 6 of those people said they were going to follow up. 2 actually did. Okay. Sorry, I know I'm getting so granular and it's so stupid, but I'm recognizing who is saying they've done a thing, who has said I've done a thing and I will follow up by email, and who has said I've done a thing, I followed up by email, and I'm going to stay with you until this is resolved. I could go back and find that information with my documentation. So there's levels of, what people are saying they're going to do. And out of all of this, today I've talked to 29 people. It's 7 people today. Person number 29 said, I will follow up in 1 day. This has been escalated. Out of now 29, well, 29 might happen. Okay. Out of 28 people, 2 people actually emailed me back. And both times when I emailed them, there was no response. Now, very early on in this process, I am recognizing that if I reply to an email, it's getting thrown into some stupid pool and somebody else responds. So, great. So, okay. November 3rd, I talked to person number 20. They say they've escalated it. It's beyond the limit of them being able to do the refund themselves. I think I've was this the one? I have. Okay. Person number 19. That is the point in the process where I need to fill out an affidavit. And I need to both complete an affidavit with the tracking information about the shipment. And I need to send the receipt for the courier costs. So person number 19 said, here's everything I need. Like, now we have everything in our system we need. So I spend 2 hours with person number 19. Person number 19 is the person who said this person, that the third party seller was using a name that mimicked Amazon, which I shouldn't have been doing. Person number 19 said, okay, now we have everything we need. Send it to this address. I sent it that address. And I emailed them back. I never heard back from person number 19. Person number 20 was person number 1. Amazing how the circle comes together. Person number 20 contacted November 3rd. 4 days later, next business day. Now it's a Monday. Person number 20 sends us update. Our warehouse has currently started to accept the books you have sent back, and we are currently processing them. So somehow 18 copies of the book get into the system. The other 100 and whatever have not, but now they're being processed. I'd love to see like what dusty corner this pallet of books has been sitting in, or what the starting to accept the books means when all 200 were sent back at the same time. Like what time would it take for the warehouse to start accepting the books? Technically, they've already started accepting the books because they had 16 in the system. So bless number 20, they actually replied, like sent me an update on November 7th. And on November 3rd, they said 5 business days, right? So 1 business day later, they send me an update, and then I hear nothing. So number 20 has disappeared. And I then go email them and say, hey, it's been, so I messaged them on the 11th, the 16th, there's nothing. And I get thrown into the customer service pool, and a different person writes back and says, wait until November 21st. So I just get person number 9 said 5 days. That didn't happen. Person number 20 said 5 days. Then they disappeared after 1 business day. Then person number 21 said until November 21st. I get on November 22nd. That happens to be a day when the chat is not like it's past hours. So now a week later, because I can only spend so much time and so much energy dealing with this insanity, it is now November 29th. And I started this whole process on July, where is it? 27th. So today, just to get people up to speed, because I'm probably going to lop off the whole first insane part of this ridiculous circumstance. Today, I get on Amazon.de chat and I put in my order number, and person number 1 says, please allow me a few more moments to check details. I am having some technical difficulties, and for some reason, I'm unable to see this order. Person number 2 doesn't speak English. Okay. Person number 3 today speaks English and tells me it's an invalid number, that number is not in the system. So at this point, somebody just hit a giant delete button and said F Brandy Agerbeck in her return. And this is all coming from the company that wants to be the most person-centric, customer-centric company on earth. So now there's an issue where they can't retrieve my order number. Now, person number, was it the 7th? Yes. Okay. So I started this live while I was in chat with the 7th person today, because I kept on getting transferred. The 7th person today, which is officially number 29 that I've talked to since July 27th and spent an incredible number of hours with. Today's session with those 7 people was 1 hour and 21 minutes. I'm not even clocking this dumb old time right now making this video. This person said, oh, now I can access your order. And so of course I'm going to ask my fastidious question, which is, oh, that's interesting. 3 people today haven't been able to access it. What did you do? Oh, I just tried again. Thank you, person number 29. Yay. So in that hour and 21 minutes, I'm, interacting with person number 29, going through this all again. And I'm saying, I'm referencing person 20. Like I'm trying to make it as clear as humanly possible that like this is the last actual progress I made in this process. This is the person I spoke to. This is the date I spoke to them. This is what they told me they were doing. And then this is what didn't happen next. So you are now caught up to date on this I oh boy. There are days when I am cranky and cranky and just think that this is what classic novels about man versus machine or man versus a system are about, where this stinking situation is trying to break me. So never mind the 1,000 other things I need to do as a business person. Never mind the fact that, oh boy, if I could bill Amazon for the hours I've spent in this situation, oh boy, I could pay a lot of bills. I could pay a lot of bills because I am a professional. Um, and I because I'm anticipating cutting this in half and only putting this more succinct, even though it's insanely long and convoluted story. I'm repeating this again in case it isn't in this part of this video. I am a professional facilitator, and I do a kind of facilitation work where I am supporting Fortune 500, Fortune 50 companies in strategy meetings. So I see how complex, complicated, enormous the systems are that we deal with every day. I am not ignorant of this. So there are times where somebody is getting all sniffy and snotty and complaining about company X and how one person in company X did something and now they hate that company. And I'm like, if you had any idea how incredibly complex these companies are, I have an idea. I've been in those rooms. I have been paid lots and lots of money to do the facilitation work I do for these giant companies. So I understand that there are complex systems and there can be broken systems. I understand that this process has had, umpteen people have to touch umpteen links or buttons and type in umpteen things. I have had to do that. And all along the way, I run into error messages and I run into some people who are trying to be helpful, some people who just want to drop me as soon as they can on Amazon.de, even though I'm not using all caps and I'm not using all swears and I'm trying to do the best I can. And I am being diligent and I am being careful and I am being as specific as I possibly can be. And I am asking every question I could possibly ask so that maybe I get the magic words. So then when I have to talk to the next person, maybe I know the secret passcode. And believe me, we've already done the can I talk to your supervisor thing. And I've been told there are no supervisors. So yes, Amazon.de customer service. Their frontline people are just telling you there aren't any supervisors. So, that's the most customer-centric company on the planet, on Earth. So I understand these things are complex. I absolutely understand that one individual that happens to catch me in chat is probably not trained for this specific scenario. I understand. I understand that any individual doesn't have all the ins and outs and information for this particular situation. I understand. What is hard to understand is truly getting a handful of different answers to the same question. What I don't understand is things being escalated to some fuzzy cloud somewhere where they don't have titles or department names. It's just been escalated and it's going to take this many days. And I certainly don't understand how many people have said they would do X and then didn't do X. So I feel like there was some other part of this insane situation. So as of right now, I've talked to 29 people. I've spent dozens of hours. I've been documenting everything, and I am still waiting for my refund for the 200 copies of my book, author copies I ordered to be shipped to my end customer. That refund has still not come through. And like my intention, my hope, because I cannot afford to do otherwise, is I get that refund and I go back and make sure when I order 200 more copies of this title that it says sold by Amazon.com, or probably DE in this case, that it's both sold by and fulfilled by Amazon. Because I fell into a trap. Apparently, best information I have, I fell into a trap where some third party seller was mimicking Amazon's name, which meant I was screwed in this situation. I have no idea if falling into that trap is why I would have never been able to access the invoice. I don't know if I fell into the trap is why I couldn't contact the seller. I'm guessing that's just because the 30 days had passed, right? So now this gets kicked over to Amazon.de. Fine, whatever. Complex systems, I understand. So still waiting to get this refund. And yeah, that's the status. And I've thought about making this video, and I cheekily wrote, I never wanted to make this video because that's one of those wonderful clickbaity titles people use. So I used it. And believe me, all I want is for this to be resolved. And again, my intention is get this refund, order 200 more copies, ship it to my customer, make sure it's both sold by and fulfilled by Amazon, ship it to my customer, and then I guess just cross my fingers and hope that they're properly bound and there aren't pages falling out, and hope that they're properly printed and don't look like crap, and hope that they're properly trimmed and don't look like crap, because I am an author, I am a professional, and I can understand that print on demand quality is not going to be at the same level as if I were taking this to a printer where we could control far more of the nuance and the printing technique. I get that. I get that. And again, let me back up and say, I have been publishing through Amazon, first by through CreateSpace and now through KDP. Let's just say my solo books since February 2012. And I have earned $150,000 in royalty through 2 titles on a very specific topic. And aside from problem number 1, a bulk order with Amazon.com in 2016, which was resolved in 20 minutes, and problem number 2, which you have heard in far too much ridiculous detail, those are the only 2 problems I've had as an author. So I can still recognize the bills I have paid from a business person side of things, the fulfillment I didn't need to do, the inventory I didn't need to keep, the printing costs I didn't have, the royalties I earned and reported year after year for 2 titles. I can recognize all of that and still recognize that I should never have been in this position, and I should never have been making this stupid freaking video, especially from the company that's trying to be the most customer-centric company on the planet, on Earth. I should really just have that in front of my face, whatever the exact wording is, every single time I get one of these stinking emails. I read it out loud once in this video. So that's where we're at right now. By all means, if anyone has watched this, if anyone has the magic passcode that actually is going to get this resolved, please, certainly if you are a KDP author, I hope you watch this and know that this could happen to you. Too long didn't watch. The only thing I can really tell you is if you're doing bulk orders, you might run into quality problems. I mean, certainly individual orders could have the same thing happen. I know from my experience, you could order bulk copies of your book and it could have problems with the print quality on the page, the trimming of the books, meaning that's cut irregularly, not well, or the binding of the book. These things can happen. I was in a great conversation with colleagues, a couple of which who are authors, and we were talking about the circumstance that if you are an author, let's say I'm going to be speaking at an event 3 months from now, and I want to ship a bulk order of my books to that venue, I am going to take the risk that they won't be good enough to sell, right? Or as the author who wants to have books to sell at that conference 3 months from now, I could order the bulk order and ship it to myself, make sure they're okay, and then ship them to the conference site. Because it's not flawless. And I can understand that no process is ever going to be flawless. I'm a reasonable human being, and I've been far more reasonable than I ever should have been through 29 customer service agents and dozens of hours, which is still not done. So do know if you are a KDP author and you are ordering bulk books, there could be quality problems. Like I did with my end customer in this particular circumstance, I asked them to check the books. It took some time before they found out that their books were faulty. That in this case, this particular problem number 2, 200 copies of the book were poorly bound and unsellable. So that is a possibility. And if you are a KDP author and you choose to do bulk orders, do not, under any circumstance, complete a transaction that doesn't say sold by Amazon.com, fulfilled by Amazon.com. And under no circumstances, place a bulk order where you cannot physically inspect the books within the 30 days after the purchase. That's the best I can tell you out of this whole absolutely insane scenario. Because I caught the trap of a third-party seller mimicking Amazon's name. I had end customers who didn't discover the problem until after the 30-day window. And even so, that those 200 books, when they arrived on September 12th, should have been entered into the system. And even if it was imperfect, when I reached out after September 12th and said, hey, I'm checking on this refund, that should have resolved. Even if it had to get escalated to somebody who could do a return over €1,000, that should have happened. And after, what day was number 19? Let's see. Okay, so, and October 27th, when I sent in the affidavit with all the tracking information saying, yes, I actually sent all these books back and I'm signing a legal document, and I sent in the receipt of the courier cost to be reimbursed, that person number 19, when they put it on their person number 19 supervisor or whoever this was escalated to, that person should have said, oh, okay, got it, refund. And still that has not happened. So this one KDP author, who for umpteen years, since 2012, has absolutely appreciated Amazon.com. I would not be able to get my work out into the world without this particular channel, is in this circumstance, which is not customer-centric in any way. I think you would agree. So if you are a KDP author, watch out for bulk orders. If you if you're concerned about quality and want a sellable book, physically inspect bulk orders within, okay, let me back up. I want to be concise, even though I've been talking forever. And this is absolutely insane. And again, is not a situation I should ever be in, because those books should never have been shipped in the first place. If you are a KDP author, you are going to choose a marketplace to order your books from. This does give us the ability to place a bulk order internationally. Yay, fantastic, hooray. Once you are in the process of ordering your author copies at your author pricing, do not place an order unless it says sold by Amazon and fulfilled by Amazon. It says the exact same darn thing in both of those fields. The best information I can get. So Warning number one. Only order your books if you see that. Warning number two, when you receive those copies, immediately take out those copies and inspect them, because I don't think a human does that before they get put in that box and shipped to you or your customer, whoever. So whoever's receiving these books, please, please, please ask them nicely, or do it yourself if you are receiving the books, to physically inspect the books. Is the print quality okay? Is the trim okay? Is the binding okay? And do this within 30 days. Please, 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 please. Okay. If you have ordered from Amazon and it has been fulfilled by Amazon and you've done it within 30 days, that's your best chance to get this resolved. I don't know precisely what's going to happen because I've gotten different answers to different things. That certainly was the circumstance in 2016 with my 400 poorly printed books, that I inspected them immediately, I contacted them immediately, and it was resolved in a 20-minute call. You heard that at the beginning of this. So absolutely physically inspect the books, make sure they're okay. My experience, I have never in these many years, coming up to 12 years, I don't think I've ever had somebody who ordered an individual copy complain about the print quality. This appears, that doesn't mean it didn't happen and they resolved it with Amazon themselves, knowing that I wasn't part of the equation. Great. I mean, I hope they got quality books and this never happened, but I don't know that it's happened. Somebody has not told me that. The only issue I've ever had as a KDP author is with bulk orders. Problem number one in 2016, it was outsourced to not one of the main fulfillment centers and it was resolved within 20 minutes. Well, it was put in action. The resolution was put in action within 20 minutes. I did receive the books. They were fine. They were great. Problem solved. Problem number two, current problem. Still not resolved. Since July 27th, it is now November 29th, and my eye is twitching again, because of course it is. Because. So again, as a KDP author, let's review. You're going to choose a marketplace to order your author copies from. Only order if it's Amazon.com. It's Amazon in both the sold by and the fulfilled by fields. Absolutely inspect those books the moment you get them. Or if you've shipped them to somebody else, please, please, please ask them to inspect the books. Look at them, flip them around, make sure they are printed well, trimmed well, bound well within 30 days. Then reach out to Amazon and hope for the best. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. So that is the tale. This is the video I never wanted to have to make. And again, today, I ended on person number 29, 7 people today. That's the most in any particular day. It's just kind of weird how that happened today, because when I first got on, they couldn't find my order number. But then somebody tried again, and they did. And that person escalated from, she is on, what did she say, the business team, and she escalated it to the retail team, whatever that means. And I will hear back in 1 business day. Now, am I holding my breath? No, because I would be dead. So there you go. Again, if anyone has a secret passcode, if anyone has any insights that we can share so that no one else is in this position again, please, please. I'm trying to make something productive out of this, because truly, this is a very, very bad novel. And I am the very, very frustrated protagonist, and Amazon.de is the antagonist. And maybe the supervillain is the person, the third-party seller who copied Amazon's name and sold me these stinking books. Maybe the henchman is the fulfillment center who printed books that were poorly bound. But the hero is absolutely my end customer and their incredible patience through this ridiculous process. And had I not had a long-term relationship with this end customer, I truly would have just simply had to refund them and not paid my bills. So I wish I could say in this very moment, I am flush with cash with all these royalties, with all the different things I'm doing in my business. And I am not, because I'm like a whole lot of people in 2023. It has not been a good year. This has not been a good year. So put one foot in front of the other, keep breathing, keep hydrating. Don't have any water near me right now. And get on Amazon.de chat once again until I see that refund in my account. So that is the epic tale, a tale I never wanted to tell, a video I never wanted to make, and